So this is Baruch Fleischman. I am at the Tikkun elevator Kollel, and we're going to do the final shir for today. This is the shir in the parsha of the week. The parsha of the week is Vayeishev, and we're over here on page Kuf Yud Beis. We're starting reading the Mata B'Devash, and like I said this a lot of times, and I forgot that I don't mention. These are actually the words of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. So we're really reading the words of the Zohar. Especially this particular Zohar, a lot of it is just real straightforward, that we could just sort of like read the Zohar, but not all of it. But at any rate, these are the words of Rabbi Shimon. So let's start over here in the Zohar, and it said, let's make a quote from this week's parsha. And it was that after these things, Betisa Ashes Adonam, so that lifted up her eyes, the wife of his master, as her eyes, al Yosef, to Yosef, she started looking at him. So he says, in order, lefarish pasuk zeh, in order to be able to explain this, Rabbi Kiva pasuk v'om, Rabbi Kiva began, and he says like this: Baruch Hu Hashem Malachav, bless Hashem, his angels, Gibori Koach, people or men of power. Ose Devarav, who do his will, to Shmoa B'Kol Devarav, do his will, to listen to the voice of his words. Now those two parts, the voice refers to Zer Anpin, and his words refers to Malchus. Let's go on. V'Omer Tochazi, Kama Itzrik Lei the Bar Nash, Le'Stam Racha B'Choboy. Ba'avarei, come and see, Ad Kama Tzarech Adam, how strongly Tzarech Adam is necessary for a person, the Shamar Atzmo Shelo Ya'ase Afilu Chet Kal, even if a person does a small sin. How you have to be careful about that. Because if you do even a small one, it'll cause a larger one. And also to walk, to travel in a way which is mesukan, which is proper. She is zachar la'asos mitzvahs and ma'asim tovim, that a person along the way of his life to be careful to do mitzvahs and ma'asim tovim. Because Yetzer Harah should not be seduced by that Yetzer Harah and thrown off the path. Because what does the Yetzer Harah do? He criticizes the person. He accuses the person every single day, every single moment of every day. Now think about what Rabbi Mimran is saying. I'm thinking about it. What Rabbi Mimran is saying about the emotional ego and how this is constantly talking to us. Shouldn't cause him to stray, the Yetzer Harah, from his path. That should criticize him, call yom v'yom kosher, just like we've learned before. Look again, the ihu mektar t'other, and since this emotional ego, this Yetzer Harah is constantly accusing the person, the yishu mektar v'tomit. Boy bar nash the histakva havelei, the histalka havelecha ba'asa tekifa. Tzarech adam, a person has to do this. He has to hisgaver love, to overpower him, to take control of him, but also love and to come up on top of him, but makom chazak, in a place that's really strong, in a way that's really strong, shelo yuchul Yetzer Harah lahazizim b'makom, so that the Yetzer Harah will not be able to push him or seduce him from his place. Now the Mato comes along and he gives us a little help here. He says, now this concept is very difficult for me. So we understand that all brachos come from the Yetzer Baruch, not from Malchus. Malchus transfers the brachos if everything is lined up and it is the yichud. So now he says, what I think he means is that we should reach for the Malchus of Atzilus, Shehu Bechinas Gebura Tetoah. She's called the lower Gebura. In order to fight, he says, in order to fight the Yetzer Harah, we have to look for the Gebura Tetoah, V'ma Yetzer Harah Mizgavra B'Yoser, and then if the Yetzer Harah gets even stronger, the boy L'Mahave Gevar Oleh, that he's really going to overtake you, Tzarek lehiyos giber man, you have to be even stronger. Like you should reach for the place which is called Gevurah, in other words, the side of Yitzchak Avinu. The lischaber b'makom ha'gevurah b'tzolam b'shi'ala mechamalchus, that you should reach for a level that's even higher than malchus. V'yisachze b'gevurah the zer anpen, and get a hold, that is picture. I don't know exactly what he means, really. Of the gevurah, the left line, which is Yitzchak of zer anpen. Begin the kad bar nash is taka falai, because it lemi adam mischazik Allah, but a person fortifies himself against the Yetzer Harah. Then ihu bistar gevura, that person is automatically, fortification itself and defense of yourself is automatically gevura. The isdabek, so let me get up here, be leistakna, that he's hurling onto it in order to be able to make the path work. Mizdabek begevura, so in other words, hold to the concept of the gevura being strong. Gedei lihischazek ala Yetzer Harah, in order to be able to get a hold of or overpower the Yetzer Harah. So suppress the Yetzer Harah, but he means to hold him down. Begin the haki Yetzer Harah takef, because the Yetzer Harah is very strong. And since the Yetzer Harah was so strong, that is to say, that is sometimes a person has to overcome a really serious test. What kind of test? B'nisayin kosher, a really tough test, similar the Nisyon Shel Yosef Hatzadik, similar to seduction, sexual seduction, which was what happened to Yosef Hatzadik. Oz boy bar nashti he tafik minay. So therefore, a person has to get even higher than the gevura. Sarach adam sheiyah chazik b'mened betzol lomar sheyachsach bebina, that he should reach for a higher state of consciousness. The one thing we could say that the heart is on the left side, but the left side is gevura. So we could say that it's a bodily. That is something you do yourself. You have to get yourself strong and realize you have to keep your eyes going straight. But that's not good enough. And you get in a situation where you're trapped, like Yosef Hatzadik. She is achsach bebina. You have to really try to get a hold of a higher state of consciousness, which is called bina. Shuhu shorish hagevura, who is the root of gevura. Okay, so then it's a ve'ila b'nei nosh de'istakvel alay. So these men who have this kind of test, the yadam, and it comes to them, and they overcome it. Ikrin giburi koach, these are the men of power. Heim nekrar giburi koach, ke'eze gibur hakovish es Yitzchak, because we have a pasuk in the Mishnah, in Avos. It's a who's a strong man, a person who can control his yetzer. They're called men of power. The vision is because they're holding on to bina, so the koach is just where energy comes out for us. The zina im zina, zina in zina, the minsa min imeno. So what does that mean? That the kinds should search each other out and match up. That is the people who are the powerful man. These men have a kesher to the upper gevura, the gevura of beyond consciousness, of a higher consciousness. The ilan ina malachim, so ilan hila malachim, the Gush Baricha, and they become agents of the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Yetzer Hatzadik, and these righteous people, Hema malachim shel Kodesh Baruch Hu, they are the ultimate agents of the Kodesh Baruch Hu. The Asiyam Mesita, the gevura, Kanshel, the Istak v'Chavalei, Shebayim Umamishichin Koach gevura, because they come and they extend out, they pour out for this power of gevura, beside the gevura, from the side of the gevura itself, the side of gevura kasha. Kedei lihisgaver al hayetzer harah, because the Yetzer Harah could only really be beaten at its source, which is really reaching to bina, the higher consciousness, to give her a better idea of where we are in the world. So here we have this concept: the powerful men, they do divor, his word. es midas hamalchus. So those people who can build up the midas of malchus, and they cross the vara, which is called his word, because malchus lashon dibur. V'aleichem ne'amar on Nezer, so baruch Hashem malachav, let Hashem bless his angels. Kihem nidamim l'malach Hashem, because these people who are building this malchus, they're becoming very similar to the malachim Hashem. Ha'ru'uyin levarach Hashem. That actually what malachim do, they bless Hashem. Ki Yosef the Ikret Tzadik Gibor, because Yosef, he has these two names. He's called the Tzadik, but he's also called a Gibor. V'heim dom the Yosef, so the people who can control themselves in the worst situation. V'heim dom the Yosef should nikrat Tzadik v'Gibor. V'nata bris kedisha v'israshim b'gavei. Al Shemasa Shamar as Bris HaKodesh Anir Shambo until they really start guarding that bris which is implanted in them. So now we'll call them a little bit more. Rebbe Lozer says like this: going back to our pasuk after this time. Now this is an interesting phrase because that's what the Zohar thinks. What's it talking about here? What's this achar devarim? What things? It's talking about a place, that place, where the Yetzer Harah stands and accuses. Now it's been explained like this. So that's an explanation. That's the place where the Yetzer Harah. That's one explanation. We dealt with that before. We have another idea. He says the place, that's how it goes together. He says the place which is achar devarim, after the speaking, hadevarim. He says shezehu hamadrega shel achar devarim. This is a drega which called on the backside or behind or previous to the devarim. But malchus nikras devarim. So we said this before. Malchus lashon dibur. V'hasitra achra hu achar Vatachas HaMalchus. So the Sitra Achra, on the other hand, is the Acher. So he says the Acher HaDevarim, the Acher HaDevarim, that is, you should either behind it or below Malchus. In some way, it's not Malchus, it's no Kedusha, but on the other hand, it's right nearby. L'chein Nikra Acher Devarim, so therefore it's called Acher Devarim. It's almost like they're attached. Begin to Yosef Yehiv Le'ed Duchtel L'Ktargo. And the reason why, in this situation with Yosef, is because he's a certain type of person. And he gave it room to accuse. There was a place for the accusation to fly. So Yosef, Nasam Makom Yetzer Harah gave him a place where this accusation could start. The Havi Yosef Besalsa Besarech asking Garme Vakashitle. Because Yosef was busy curling his hair, and he was always working on his appearance. Vakashitle, and he adorned himself. Maybe adorned his hair. Ki Yosef Koyim Besalsa Besaro, his hairs. Batika the keshet atatzmo, so he had all kinds of jewels and ornaments, whatever he made himself look beautiful. Then the Yisyahiv Dukla the Yetzer Harah L'Ktargo. Oz, he says, so therefore, as a result of that, what he's doing, there is a possibility the Yetzer Harah could find a way in there and start accusing. The boy, the Ihum is Avalale. So the father, look at the situation. The father of this one is mourning Ale. But Yosef Mekashet Garment, and Yosef putting on beautiful clothes. Masalsa Besare, and he's curling his hair. Shram Avid who is Avalalav, his father is mourning him. But Yosef Mekashet Atzman, Masalsa Salara. Then Iskere be duva bekatregleg, and then all of a sudden, so then there is I put this word, I work a word on here. It was teasing. That's it. Iskere be dove. It means a bear started to scratch him, bekatregleg, and then it started to accuse him. So let's go down here. Let's see just a little bit more. And it says and it was after these things. Ki Yedua Shahat Teferes Hu B'Bechin Shemayim. So Teferes, they're onpen, different concepts, different words for same idea. This is the aspect of heaven. A memeno Nishpa Shefa Hamater L'Malchus Shehi B'Bechin Haaretz. And this is the metaphor that from the heavens the rain comes down and it's mashpia to Malchus B'Bechin Haaretz, who is the land. V'Hashefa Yared El HaMalchus Ayedach Yisod. But in order to get to Malchus, there has to be a kasher between Malchus and Yisod, which is the kasher between male and female. Shehu bebechinas aver emsoy, so that we see that the Yisod is the concept of the medium, which is what I'm doing. I'm Baruch, so I'm doing the medium. Shederek ha'avir oilim ha'adim shehem sod his ordos atachtonim shem alaman. So I'm not sure what ha'adim means, but he says it brings out the redness. I mean, I'm not sure what it means. Shehem sod his ordos atachtonim, because this is what the Yisod can do. Shederek ha'avir, this medium, it has the ability to go two ways. That's why I said before, that's why we call this the Tikkun elevator Kollel. Because the Tikkun is really that the elevator can go up and can go down. So here it says it has the ability, the order as haredis hamad. So excuse me, I read it wrong. He says, it should be the first word on the line should be sod his orders. Let me find it here. His orders atachtonim, because what happens here is that this midah of the Yisod could arouse the lower worlds, that is Malchus herself, to start requesting the things she needs, because she needs everything, she has nothing. That somehow the lower worlds down below should bring man to Malchus. Vehi ma'ala es a man l'cha-teferes, and then she passes the ball to Teferes, so to speak. She brings the same mayim nukvin to the Teferes. L'ores koach haredis amad, in order to waken up the channels that would bring down what's called mayim dukvin, or the shefa from up above to down below. Is of Yosef Yisod hu Yetzer Yisod. So you said Yehoshi hayichud, excuse me, that the actual connection between male and female comes through this middle ground, which he called Avir, the medium of the Yisod. Hayichud hu Yetzer Yisod, l'chein iker atziris agashamis. So therefore, the main thing about stopping the rain, closing things up, and there's more to be said about this, but then I'm going to finish right here. The main way that the rain stops, in other words, your parnasa stops, hu ayeder begam habris, really happens because of the begam habris, of wasting your seed. Shuhu begam yisa the elyon, which leads to a begam of the major flow of shefa bracha, which comes from up above, comes from the inside outwards. Kedefarish, he says, as we are going to explain as we're going along, but we're going to stop right here. This is Baruch Fleischman for the Tikkun Elevator Kollel.